Startup is designed to give student entrepreneurs the ability to work on their startups while they're in school.
I am currently studying my MBA
in electrical engineering,
Masters in Advertising,
International Relations, and Latin American Studies. Plan to business honors major.
I'm a computer scientist about to graduate from law school.
In the fall, we have a seminar, and it's designed to inspire students and expose us to every entrepreneur on campus. We kick things off with open pitch pizza, when anybody from any school can come in and pitch their idea at the beginning of class and get feedback from me and the other guest speakers.
I got to pitch every single week. I highly encourage everybody to do so.
And then, every week, we bring in incredible guest speakers. We're talking about entrepreneurs like Kendra Scott and investors like Mike Mason, inventors like Bob Metcalf, and incredible CEOs like Heather Berger. They come in and share their story, and the students get to ask them questions and learn about what it takes to be a great entrepreneur.
Their advice was super useful when I was building my own startup, and it kind of shows you that it's very much possible to be in their shoes.
In the spring, we have the lab, and in order to get to the lab, you can't just have an idea. You actually have to have a startup and a team, and you apply together. Once you're in the lab, then you get time and space to work on your startup while you're in school. There's no lectures, there's no assignments. It's all time working on your startup. Sometimes people get overwhelming. Like, what do I do? Who do I talk to? This really helps, a business owner kind of focus in on one thing each week.
Week in and week out, we're always going to have expectations. We always have some kind of goal.
But you're not alone. Every team gets matched up with 2 local mentors that meet with them every week to help keep them accountable and push them forward. And then in addition to that, we bring in guest mentors every week for other amazing entrepreneurs, investors, coaching and giving advice.
I get really good feedback and really personal feedback every week. It's not like it's, a 10-minute conversation with a mentor.
You really get everything you need to go from concept to product market fit to actually launching it.
Every startup in the lab gets a stipend up front and competes for an investment prize at the end, which is awarded at a demo day with 1,000 people in the audience.
The lab helps us materialize that idea and so it becomes reality.
The lab's not just about bringing great mentors into the university. It's also about bringing the students outside into the real world, which we do at Capital Factory, the center of gravity for entrepreneurs and owners, and an incredible co-working space and mentor network that's available to all the students. Capital Factory is awesome. It's a beautiful place to work. It's such an engaging environment to be in.
I'm really grateful for the opportunity to be there.
The Longhorn Startup Lab, I think, is one of the most amazing opportunities that entrepreneurs have on campus.
It gives us a lot of opportunities to learn from other entrepreneurs.
And being able to learn from great founders that have built a big company is one of the best opportunities that you could ever have.
Awesome. Welcome, everybody. We're going to get started in just a minute. The way all of our classes are going to start is with a quiz. The quiz is not meant to be hard. The quiz is totally just meant to be think that you watched the video that or read the thing you're supposed to read before class. It's a pass-fail course, so you just have to get there's like 14 classes, you have to get 10 of them. You have to pass 10 of them, which means you have to be here for 10 of them. You can't pass them if you're not here. But this is a little bit of a practice run, but so you can see what it's like, and it's also part of getting everyone to be here on time. Normally the quiz actually closes at 4:05, so like get here on time. The idea is you have 5 minutes. It's a 5-question quiz. It's super easy, and it's really just did you watch the video? And if you didn't get the email and you didn't watch the video, don't stress out about it. This is more of a practice run today. And also there's pizza, which hopefully you saw, that you can grab. And we're going to give everybody just we're doing an extra 5 minutes since it's the first day. And apparently you're all the smartest ones who figured out how to get here over from campus. And, or at least you got the emails and you got the notice. So some people maybe didn't get the notice or maybe went to the wrong place on campus. And so we're giving you extra minutes to go here. Come on in, everybody. We are given a few extra minutes to get started. Grab a slice of pizza, go to campus, and take the quiz. The quiz is really quick and easy. We're going to get started in 3 or 4 minutes. Your capital factor for the first time. Awesome. Well, welcome, and even more congratulations on finding your way here. I hope it wasn't too hard. We've been doing this for a couple of years, and some people have figured it out. So hopefully it's not too much of a burden, and it's better that you get to come here, be around all the entrepreneurs, and meet everybody. So you've got another minute or two on the quiz. If you finish that, about half of you took the AI survey. The survey is also really easy. It's like 5 or 6 questions. If you haven't taken this yet, if you wouldn't mind filling it out, it'd be great. It just gives us a little sense of where you're coming from. Oh, don't leave pizza on the floor for the dog. No pizza for the dog. And all right, so we'll get started in another minute or two. Thanks, everybody. All right. Well, you still have a minute to finish up this quiz or do the survey, but I'll start kicking things off, and welcome everybody. Welcome. I'm Josh, and this is Capital Factory, and this is the Longhorn Startup class. We are changing things up this year. We started this class in 2011, quite a long time ago. One of the students wrote this blog post back when that was kind of a big deal to write a blog post. That was like, why doesn't UT have an entrepreneurial ecosystem like Stanford? And honestly, there was a lot less going on back then. There was basically just McCombs, and so it kind of got a bunch of play, a bunch of people talking about it, and someone reached out to me and said, Josh, I was running Capital Factory at the time, this was getting started. He said, Josh, you should help do this. And I met Bruce Porter at the time was running the computer science department, and he was really encouraging. And then coincidentally, right at the same time, I met Bob Metcalf, who had just come to Austin, and now is kind of like mostly retiring, but is still around. You'll see him catch him around sometimes. And Bob was one of my big mentors, but was a really big deal for the 10 years or so that he was here. Bob invented Ethernet, like literally like plugged the first computers together to get them to make the internet, and founded a company out of that called 3Com, which made like Ethernet adapters for computers, but was a really big company, and did a lot of other things. And so really great entrepreneur and a great investor, and was really helpful in getting the class started. And then we did that for about 15 years. And there was 2 parts of the class: the seminar in the fall, which is pass fail, and then the lab in the spring, which is more like an accelerator, where you come in with a startup and you work on your startup the whole semester. There's a demo day at the end. And this year, we're trying something different. So we have a different format for the class for the first semester, and very likely for the next. We'll see what we learn from it. And this was really inspired in particular by Austin, who's here, our first guest who's here tonight. I'll introduce more in just a minute, and the Gauntlet program that he runs. I'm really trying to take what we've learned both about the class and what I think is most helpful to the students that I've learned over this time, which especially if you don't necessarily even have a startup yet, and then also what AI is changing so quickly about building startups and about what you can go do and what anybody can go do. And Gauntlet and what Austin's doing is a really great example of that. And so that was a big, big inspiration for me. And with his permission, I said, oh my God, this is so cool. How can I even just take a little bit of what you're doing and apply it back to what we've been doing in the class? And that was really inspired it was the inspiration for what we're doing in this semester. So I'm explaining a little bit more about how that works and what it'll be like, but I'm really excited about it. Hope you'll be too. I think it's going to work really well. This is the basic format for our classes. Most of them are going to be the same. This is all about, it's pass-fail, so it's really all about being an experience. It's being part of it, so you need to come. You don't have to come to every single class, but you need to come to most of them. And you're not going to, that's one of the main requirements. I'll talk about grading in a second. Each week, we're going to have a guest entrepreneur here, like Austin. And they are awesome. I'll show you in just a second. I've all but 1 or 2 of the spots filled. Really, really amazing entrepreneurs coming in to meet with you and talk to you. And first, we'll have free pizza and open pitch, which means any of you can come up and give a pitch for a startup idea. And you'll start to see that there's like a certain kind of format that at least for the time frame and other things we're going for. And obviously, I bet a lot of you will use AI to help write your pitches. You'd be surprised if you do these days. Not that you have to, but that's probably a part of it. And then also each week we'll have a guest entrepreneur come in, and they'll give you their pitch, like what was their version, and maybe even kind of rewinding a bit to the beginning, like what was my pitch when I got started. And then I'm going to ask them as much as they can to show you like an early demo. They might give you a demo of what it does now because they might not have something really early to show you, but then they're going to give you a quick demo of what they've done and what they built and what their company does. And we'll get to talk to them a little bit. And then I'll give one more pitch at the end. I'll give you one example today. So you'll see a bunch of pitches that all of you gave at the beginning. You'll see the pitch from this like really successful entrepreneur about something real they built but they might have built it 10 years ago. So like maybe you can build it in a weekend with AI, right? Now. And then you'll see one more pitch idea from me. And over the next week, your job is to use AI to build a demo of one of those pitches. Some kind of like try to see what can you build in that week. You've got like a limited time frame, and the limited time frames, actually constraints are often really a good thing. They force you to be creative, and they force you to like focus on what's most important. And so you'll have a week to show something, to build something. And there's not going to be enough time for everyone to show what they built every week. So there'll be opportunities to do that. But again, this is the first time we're doing this class. But your goal over the course of the semester is to show one really good demo or give one really good pitch. I'm not trying to make it really hard to pass. I'll go over the grading in a minute. But so if you might be more inclined towards giving a great pitch, or you might be more inclined toward building a great demo. But either one of those is okay. And so there'll be lots of chances to do this. You got to step up and take them, right? And basically, it's just up to me, and you have to impress me. Like, I'm gonna give you a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Thumbs down. There's gonna be a lot of thumbs downs. That's okay. That's not like don't let that crush your roll. But because it's gonna be hard to get a thumbs up. But when you get a thumbs up, you only have to get one thumbs up the whole semester to pass the class. And I'll talk more about that too. So, open pitch pizza. Everybody comes up, lines up. There's a way to register in advance, but you'll line up. You'll give your pitches. You might get some thumbs up. Then somebody gets $100 too. Best pitch of the night. I'll do anything to bribe you guys to be here. Like, get you to pay attention. So free pizza, $100 bill. Then we're gonna have a chance for you to demo stuff. And I'm still trying to figure out the logistics of actually how this will work, but then we want you to show stuff that you guys built over the past week. And there'll be a line of people that go do that. And like, you have to be able to do it fast. Like, show us what you built. And like, what does it do? And like, what we're able to get done. And there'll be thumbs up and thumbs down for those. Then we'll have our guest entrepreneur, Austin's here today to help kick things off. And they'll have watched all that. They'll have seen your pitches. They'll have seen your demos. Then they're gonna get up and they're gonna give you their pitch from like, and again, this is an experiment. I want them to like kind of roll back time and like give you the pitch from when they got started and show you the demo when they got started. Like, scratch some of the feedback from them. Like, I want to pitch my new thing. So we'll see what they do. But they're going to give you a pitch and they'll give you a demo. We'll get a chance to talk to them. And then, like I said, I'll give you one last pitch at the end. And that's basic format for class. I talked about thumbs up. One more thing about thumbs up. So it's some other advice. Like, I would start early. Like, go and try to get more at bats. It's probably going to be easier to get a thumbs up at the beginning than towards the end, because I'm going to see more stuff. The bar is going to go up. So, a little encouragement, like get up here and like be volunteer. And then we'll end there's one more assignment, so which is the lean canvas, and we'll send that out, an example of that, but it's a one-page business plan basically. And so you'll have to pick one of the pitches or one of the ideas you saw, and you just have to basically fill out this form and like put together a one-page business plan for it. And so, and then at the last class, we'll have a big pitch off, maybe with demos, and someone won $1,000. So this is the schedule for like the whole semester, and like I said, it's mostly the same. We're kicking off with Austin today. It'll be a little bit different. Next week, we'll have TJ Clark here, who's the founder of bedandbreakfast.com. Really great entrepreneur. He's working on a new company now. And that class will also be a little bit different because it'll be the first one. I'm working on finalizing the next two spots. Then we've got Jason Cohen, who's the founder of WP Engine. I don't know if you guys have ever seen their building downtown. There's like their logos on one of the big buildings. They run like all the important WordPress sites for all the big companies. Like, so if you run it on WordPress, they actually like host it and manage it. They're kind of like AWS for WordPress or something like that, if you think about it. And he's like one of the best entrepreneurs I've ever worked with in my life. He's amazing. That company has like hundreds of thousands of customers. They're probably worth $1 billion. Like, it's a really great company. Blake Garrett, any of you learn to drive with Aceable? A bunch of you. Awesome. Blake's the CEO and founder of Aceable. I met Blake in probably like 2014 at a coffee shop. Maybe it was even before, maybe it was 2000, I'm trying to think, it was before, it was actually before I think I invested in 2014. I think I met him in 2011 because it was before we opened the space down here because I was at a coffee shop. And he came up to me and literally was like pitching me his idea on a napkin. It's like the old story. And it was for what became Aceable. And now Aceable is like driversed.com in the way like everybody learns how to drive. Super cool. Brett Hurt, one of the best entrepreneurs in town. He founded Bizarre Voice and Data.World. Those were the last two companies. He's just an incredible entrepreneur, SaaS entrepreneur. Alex Moore is one of the founders of, maybe the first employee at Palantir, which is another really interesting, awesome company doing really well right now, and helped found 8VC, which is a venture capital firm here in town that's really great. Tim Westergren is the founder of Pandora. Any of you guys use Pandora? Yeah, know what Pandora is? A couple of you have, okay, some people know what Pandora is. Pandora was like Spotify, before Spotify. I mean, that's like the closest thing I can say, but it was like, but it also used AI to figure out like what you liked and to serve up the next, kind of like the Spotify day list. And you guys, I like that. And the day list is working for me. It's really good. It was like that, but I had it way before that and did really well. So big music startup guy, really cool. Bill Perkins, amazing entrepreneur, founded a company called Skyfi. Also wrote a book, that's a best-selling book called Die With Zero. Changed my life. Awesome book. J.D. Ross, founder of Open Door, another big, really successful company, and Royal, which was like a music royalty company, and he's got another startup now. He's an awesome entrepreneur. Walker Druitt, founder of New Breaks. Walker took this class like in the first maybe like 3 years, and New Breaks used to be called New Wash, like car wash, and they literally would come to this class, and they would the whole thing was they would like wash your car in your parking spot like overnight or like while you were at work. And so they would literally like come to class, leave class to go wash cars. And then they figured out over time that actually fixing brakes was a way better like business than washing cars. That's similar. And so they switched to brakes. And I don't think it's been announced yet, but I think they just sold it. They just had a big exit, really good. So, and then we'll have the demo day competition, then it's Thanksgiving break, and then there'll be some opportunities if you guys want to be part of Capital Factory. So that's what we got coming up the rest of the semester. What it takes to pass. I've talked about most of this already. You have to pass the quiz at the beginning of class. There's like 5 questions. You have to get at least 3 of them right, probably 4 to pass. We'll see about that. But you have to pass the quiz, pass 10 of them. So I think there's like 14 classes, so that gives you some wiggle room. You have to stay till the end of class. You have to make a lean canvas. You have to get 1 thumbs up. And if you pitch again and you get an extra thumbs up, that's like extra credit. Like you can that makes up for like missing a class. So you can get more thumbs up. Open Pitch Pizza, the way that works, it helps a lot if you sign up in advance. You don't have to, but please, it'd be great if you did. You can sign up at pitch.longhornstartup.com. People will line up on the side to pitch right before class, right at the beginning, right after you take the quiz. You'll come up here, you'll grab the mic, you'll give like a 2-minute pitch. You'll start to see some of the format as we go. We'll give you some quick feedback, along with our guest entrepreneur. I will give you the thumbs up or thumbs down. After all the pitches, somebody gets $100, and then we move on to the demos. And demos will work something like that. So that's most of the stuff about how the class works. And after this, I'm gonna have a chance we're gonna bring in Austin, and I'm gonna talk with him. But first, any questions about any of that? Anything about the class, logistics, how it works, how to get here, how to register, anything? Both, first you, first her. Well, so the question was, can you have multiple collaborators on a pitch? And the answer is yes, but only one person gets the thumbs up. Like someone's got to come up and give the pitch, and it's a short pitch. So you should definitely collaborate a lot. And same thing with demos. But at least for now, we'll see. At least for now, then I'm going to reserve the right to maybe allow for some team stuff later. One person's kind of getting up and either demoing it or giving the pitch. You have a question? There you go. So the question I think was, do you have to do a different pitch every time, or can you like repeat it and do the same pitch? And you can definitely repeat it. Like a lot of people try to do the same pitch over and over, try different versions of it, trying out different ways to do it, getting some feedback, incorporating it. Totally fair game. So yeah, just bars. If you don't get a thumbs up the first time, you better do it different, do it better. Yeah, totally. Other questions?
can we pitch any idea, any kind of business idea?
Yeah, so it's something that like is a business, and like something that ideally, like the goal is that we want to connect the pitches to the demos. So ideally, it's like something that that is mostly software that you could like build or solve using software and AI. There's a mural on the 5th floor. We have 4 floors here. There's the 1st floor, 5th floor, 8th floor, top floor, 16th floor. The mural over there on the 5th floor says, "Always make an exception for awesome." So if it's really awesome, you can come pitch it, and you can still get a thumbs up.
So what kind of things are you looking for in order to get a thumbs up?
What are you looking for to get a thumbs up on the pitch? I will give you some more feedback on this next week too, and more of it written down, so it's a little clearer. But there's a few different components. The most important thing is to really clearly convey what you're doing and be compelling. I mean, at the obvious kind of level, you're trying to convince somebody. One of my partners, Gordon Doherty, who wrote one of the books I'm going to recommend, has a saying that sales and fundraising is a transfer of enthusiasm from one person to another. Like, you have to get the other person you're selling to as excited about it as you are. Like, that's really what gets them to make the decision, and a lot of decisions are very emotional. So that's the starting point. It's like, you got to get us excited about it. I'll tell you, you'll start to see that I give a lot of common feedback, and I've seen a lot of pitches. And so a lot of times when you're getting started, the things you need to work on are similar. And also, like, if you're just getting started, like, you might have some really different way to go do it, but it's probably better, like, start with, like, the known good way to go do it. Like, one way that, like, generally works, and then get creative versus, like, you know, get the basics down first. And so one of the really big themes through it is to tell a story. The more that you can make the pitch not feel like a pitch, because nobody actually wants to get pitched, the more effective it's going to be. The more that you can draw them in and like really just make it, you know, that's going to be a huge thing we'll work on.
Are we allowed to pitch right now?
Probably not.
No,
No, I don't think we're going to have time today. Maybe, we'll see.
On the subject of pitching and the passion behind it, what if I have like a cool graphic, like something that I want to show? Are you allowed to have a visual aid or a slide, for example, or is it?
Yes, you can have visual aids, okay. And often people have like even something in their hand or something to show. The slides, like, don't show up with a slide. Like, if you like send Anjali a slide ahead of time, then that's okay.
Okay.
No.
Similar question, do the demos have to be all the things that were previously pitched?
That's the plan right now.
Okay.
Just to give you, again, some constraints are good, so like, and then we'll be able to compare some of the things that got built. Anybody else? All right. Well, thank you. Those were great questions. Okay, 2 books. I'm not going to test you on these books. These are just really good books that, like, most of the people I talk to would really benefit from. And so they're both written by people here in Austin. One is called Running Lean, and it's about the lean startup methodology, which is a framework to think about your startup, and that's where the lean canvas comes from. And Ash Myra is the author of that. He's a guy based here in Austin who speaks to the class sometimes. And I think it was written way before AI was relevant in this way, but I think depending on what you're doing, in a lot of cases it might be even more relevant now, because a lot of it's about being able to test things and get feedback, and you have so much more ability to do that with AI now. And the other one is by Gordon, who I mentioned earlier, who's one of my co-founders here at Capital Factory, and this is a best-selling book he wrote that's called Startup Success, and it's like most of the questions that a founder has to begin getting started. So really good basic stuff and really good advice. All right, so with that, I'd love to invite Austin up if you want to come up and join me. Let's give him a round of applause and make him feel welcome. Thank you, Austin. And actually, just while I'm remembering right now, 2 other quick housekeeping notes. So one is we have parking validations. Do we have parking validations? Okay, we do. So if you did park here at Capital Factory, we can validate them, and you can, it gets you a special rate. I might get this wrong. It's like $7 or $8, I think, and for the whole time, like when you're just here for class, which probably still sounds like a lot, but it's way cheaper than normal for parking downtown. And so if you do drive here, you can get a parking pass. For communications, TA@longhornstartup.com is just easy to remember. And then anything you're going to send in as an assignment goes to updates@longhornstartup.com, which goes to both of us. And then I'm Josh at Longhorn Startup, or Josh at Capital Factory. All right, so with that, I want to jump in with Austin. So thanks so much for joining us today.
Awesome.
You got to make it green. Don't hold it so much. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Great. So first, if you don't mind, give us the pitch for Gauntlet.
Yeah, so Gauntlet, we are an AI training for the best engineers in the world. So if you're an engineer and you test toward the top of our tests, we fly you to Austin, put you up in housing, feed you, do your laundry for 10 weeks while you dive deeply into AI. And then if you make it through the Gauntlet, you're guaranteed a $200,000 plus job as an AI engineer on the other side, should you want to take it.
Pretty awesome. And that was pretty much a story. You kind of told the experience of what it was like to go through the program. So awesome pitch. I'm compelling. Anybody interested in taking Gauntlet? Yeah. Look at that. We got a whole bunch. All right. Don't drop out of school yet. Maybe. Capital Factory's trying to hire someone from Gauntlet right now. We thought it was a really compelling pitch. I don't know if this is going to work out. Did we figure out a way to do a demo?
I have a video that I can play on my computer if you want to plug it in.
Yeah. Do you, Jolly, could we try to plug his computer in? And we're going to play, so as part of what we're trying to do, with some of the others are really easier to do a demo. He's going to play a video that will show some of the demos of the kinds of things that the students in the class are able to make.
Yeah, so for context, we have 10 weeks of Gauntlet. Every week there's a different project, except the last 2 weeks you build a capstone project, and then you show your capstone project at Demo Day. So what you're about to see, they built in 2 weeks.
It's a capstone project.
Yep, it's a capstone project. This is from our Demo Day, actually. This is where audio works.
So what was really inspiring about this is when he's giving a tour of Gauntlet, he'll bring people in, and the tour is basically just walks around, he walks up to somebody, and he's like, what are you building? And they start to describe what they're building, and someone will talk about it, and someone will say like, well, wow, what if it did this? And then they'll make them change it real fast, right in front of them, and show them how quick, fast they can update it or make changes. So I don't know if that's what, some part of what we're going to see here. But since we're not,
We'll see if we can get it to work.
since we're not going to stand now, why don't you describe it a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, the high level, so we started Gauntlet, the first cohort was in January of this past year. And so we do a few weeks online and then fly everybody to Austin. But, it started because we were doing a bunch of B2B training, training companies to use AI. And there were a few companies that were Austin-based that were sending 100 engineers at a time. And they would come back and be like, man, AI is so different and so much powerful than we thought it was. We've got to find a way to get people really immersed in this stuff. It's just hard to do that on the side when you're an engineer and you still have to, you have a day job and you're shipping stuff. And so we put together what we thought was an incredibly ambitious curriculum. So when you show up on day one, it's basically, okay, you are now done writing code. AI has to write all of the code for you, and I know if you're an engineer, you're going to hate that for the first couple of weeks, but you have to do it. We put software on your computer that makes sure you're not writing code yourselves. And here's a project that's due. So in the first cohort, it was, we're going to build a clone of Slack. You have a week to do it, but also your MVP is due tomorrow. So if you don't have an MVP of Slack by tomorrow using only AI, you're kicked out of the program. And it's very effective. The first time we go through that, everybody thinks that it's crazy, but by time 8 or 9 or 10, basically if you were to show anybody in Gauntlet any piece of software that you've seen, they would expect to be able to build all of it in about a week. Normally, my mental model is what I used to anticipate would take about 6 months in the old world. With AI for a Gauntlet engineer, it's probably about 24 or 48 hours. So you guys are super, super lucky because AI has completely changed the playbook for everybody. Everyone's still wrapping their mind around it. I've invested, I know Josh has invested in a gazillion companies. I've invested in probably 300. And if I look at the ones that spent a couple $1 million building their first product, I'm like, yeah, today that's probably a week or two. If you get good at it and know what you're doing. So huge opportunity, and the sands of tech are completely shifting under everybody's feet, and nobody really knows what to do about it yet.
Do we have, Jolly, do we have the survey results on the deck? I thought I put them on there. If it's ready, yeah, you can play the video. But then I also want to show the survey results.
Austin, we're going to start after lunch break. When do you want to start on the video?
I had queued it up to a random, so pick a random project and we'll see what it is. Yeah.
They switch computers.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a bunch of like interviewee stuff, and yeah, it's a good project. And yeah, I know it's on Twitter, and Twitter is terrible at giving you controls for. Anyway,
Well, one of the things I wanted to show from the survey is we asked this one of the basic questions about like what kind of things you're using now, what experience you have with AI, what tools you're using, which LLMs you prefer, maybe what some extra things that you've done. And what I saw was most people certainly seem to be using LLMs regularly. A lot of people said they used it all day long, and most people, I'd say a majority of people use it every day. Most people were using ChatGPT. Like not an insignificant number of people had used it to write code or used Claude or other kind of like coding tools. A lot of people had created a GPT or an agent.
cool.
And so we're getting this.
Generating the designs of the environment that the character will appear in. And this is also another LLM call. So we've got 6 different environment designs that the LLM thinks are appropriate for a cat to appear.
To get to the beginning one.
And so you see we have another parallel image generation call.
Twitter is terrible.
And these are different environments that are LLM. Think
You
about
wanna
all the
rewind
tools
a
you have
few
to go
minutes?
through.
Yeah, go to the
to
beginning
make
of
this
that
happen.
project if it lets you.
Yeah.
Okay,
There you
this
go.
works. Perfect. Okay, so yeah, context, this is one person in 2 weeks.
Hello, hello. So we've seen AI video generation businesses explode in 2025. We've seen automated UGC ads on short form from the startup Realform, which is already at 40K MRR, and similar tools from Icon's Ad GPT. And we've seen an explosion of viral video ads from Google's VO3 on TikTok and Reels. So these solutions are great for businesses for creating ads because they include sound generation so that your VO3 characters can speak for your business. So there's a lot of opportunity in AI video generation as a promotional tool, but no one is bringing that technology to people who have existing audios that they need time-synced AI videos for. In particular, human music artists who do spend quite a bit of money on music marketing. So for my capstone, I tackled that technology and called it TrillMotion. It's a platform for creating AI-generated music videos that sync to music artists' existing songs. We have a full-fledged video editing interface that is custom built for AI video generation and includes editing tools that are relevant to music in particular. Let's jump into the demo. So we've got our beautiful landing page with our call to action button at the top. And these are some existing demo videos that have been created with our app. Let's watch one. So I wanted to call out a few things about that video. So first of all, that video was 36 seconds long and cost me about $2 to make. So that's about 6 times cheaper than Google's VO3. Another thing is that the character that you saw is consistent throughout the video, but appears in different scenes and in different environments. So think about the kind of workflow you would need to make that happen with current AI tools, right? You'd be using Midjourney, you'd be downloading images, you'd be finding environment images, and you'd be taking multiple images, throwing them into GPT Image 1 or Gen 4 Turbo, and then generating video clips, splicing them together. It would be a very complex workflow that would involve a lot of different AI tools and a lot of different websites. And the last thing I wanted to point out about that video is that it's time synced. So not only are the chops of the different video clips time synced, but there are also moments where the movements of the character itself is time synced to the music in the background. And so that's something that CapCut and other video editing softwares can't do for you. And the way we achieve that is with a motion syncing Python script that detects the motion curve of a generated video and elastically alters the playback and the frame rate of the video to match the pulse of the music. So let's jump into the app and create a new music video. So you open up your dashboard. You have to spend 200 credits to make a new video, which is about $3.33. On the first step of our flow, you can upload the audio that you want time synced. For this example, we're uploading a Travis Scott song. You can choose the snippet that you want in your music video. And in our first step, we're designing the character that will star in our music video. And so in this prompt, I just typed a very simple, low-effort prompt that just says, punk cat. And then we're selecting some badges that make it easy to have good prompt engineering specificity for your character with low effort, and all the fields are optional. And you'll see that just from that simple prompt, punk cat, we extract a lot of creative utility. And so here we've auto-generated character designs with good prompt engineering specificity just from that punk cat prompt. And so even the prompting process has been automated. From these character designs, we generate images. And although this video is sped up, in real time, the time it takes to generate all these images is the same as if you were generating just one image, because all the image generation happens in parallel. So if you were using ChatGPT for this workflow, it would take a very long time. You probably generate an image with ChatGPT, maybe it takes you a minute for one image to generate. I think we have, let's see, 15 images up there. That would take you quite some time. But in this app, it happens in 1 minute for all 13 at the same time. So we choose the character that we like. And I'm choosing this punk cat with a mohawk in the bottom right. And now we're going to generate this same character in different poses. And so the prompts for the poses that the character is in are also autofilled. So here's our main character of our music video in different poses. And you can choose the ones that you like. And in our next step, we're generating the designs of the environment that the character will appear in. And this is also another LLM call. So we've got 6 different environment designs that the LLM thinks are appropriate for a punk cat to appear in. And so you see we have another parallel image generation call. And these are different environments that our LLM thinks a punk cat would look good in. So we've got a skate park, we've got some graffiti, we've got a dive bar, and these match what the user specified in their badges as well. I think I clicked on psychedelic environments in the prompting. So you choose the environments that you like, and now we're pairing the different poses of our character with our different environment backdrops. And so this is forming the arc of our music video, where we'll see our character, what environments they'll appear in, which results in a storyboard. And so these are the combined images that are generated of our character in our different environments. And these will be turned into video clips. And now we're specifying what our character is going to do in each part of the music video. So we do some auto-filling here that has some automated prompting for what the character will do in these scenes, but I've got some creative direction that I'm adding. And so we're describing what our video clips are going to look like. And these are all the video clips that were generated in parallel. And so the user can choose the ones they like. So it saves a massive amount of time. Think about all the tools you'd have to go through to make this happen. And in our final step of our flow, we have a video editing interface. So this is a clone of the CapCut software, which is a popular video editing tool. So we've got our timeline at the bottom with all of our clips that are loaded in automatically. We've got our audio that the user uploaded, also loaded in automatically. And there are some tools in this interface that are specific to AI video generation and time syncing to music. So when a clip is selected, you can see that we've got this button, some buttons in the top right, time sync to music, extended reversal, generate from last frame. So the time syncing you'll see in action. That's the elastic playthrough that I described. The extended reversal takes a clip and concatenates it to its own reversal. Since these video clips that are coming in are pretty short, it's how a lot of the generation models work, is the clips tend to be pretty short. And then generate from the last frame, we'll generate a new video from the last image of a video clip. We've also got a new So that's the initial music video that was put together from the AI. And now we've got a lot of creative opportunity to customize it to our liking, to bring in more creative material. So I'm going to generate a new clip here because I'm not happy with some of the clips that were generated. And we're going to do a montage here. And you'll see me using this app to generate new clips, do some splicing, do some time syncing. And through this whole flow, we're staying inside of the same app to create this music video. So there's a clip of this character dancing, but it's not dancing, and that's pretty frustrating. So I'm going to time sync it. And in the final product, you'll see that the character is dancing in time with the music. And so now we're exporting our clip, and you can see the final output that we have.
Yeah, we can stop there. Yeah, anyway, that was an interesting project to pick on, because you can tell that he's far more excited about using AI to generate all this stuff and manipulate all this stuff, which is not trivial to do. And he glosses over the fact that he built CapCut like inside, which is a multi-billion-dollar company.
This whole video editing system.
Yeah, it's like, oh, by the way, I built an entire video editing system the way that you're used to, like, in order to use all this stuff. Like, talk more about that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, that gives you an idea of what 2 weeks of Gauntlet looks like. So there was not a line of code written 2 weeks before he was demoing that.
So now, obviously, that was after 10 weeks of intensively working on all this, already having a bunch of background in programming, and at the end of their program, it's not, I wouldn't put that as the bar of what we expect you guys to do every week, but it shows you it's possible. And that wasn't possible a year ago. It wasn't possible 2 years ago. What's going to be possible next year? Like, the things that are possible are really changing quickly. And the things that you're going to be able to do next year versus this year are going to be even way bigger and way different.
Yeah. In the first cohort of Gauntlet, we intentionally selected a handful of people with literally zero programming experience. They'd never really written a single line of code before. And we threw them into the first challenge, which was build a Slack clone in 1 week and then add a bunch of AI features in the second week. And it took a whole lot of effort and stumbling and asking AI questions, but they were able to do it. So I spent the past decade teaching people to code, and now I'm like, all of that is pretty irrelevant now. I'm not saying you don't need to learn what's happening in the background of what, the way the code is working, but you can go zero to working product really quickly and then work your way down of understanding how that works and how to make it scale better and all that stuff along the way. So I think, the line between non-technical and technical is at a minimum blurred versus where it used to be. So if you've never written a line of code before, you want to build a product, you can actually do that now reasonably as a normal person, where 2 years ago it would have been 6 months to learn how to do that before you could have anything.
So great timing on the slides. So this is the survey that we sent out. We had about half of the students respond already, and hopefully a bunch more did since I took these snapshots. But you can see that about half of you, a little bit more, are from engineering and computer science. And then we've got quite a few from management, communications, fine arts, natural sciences, and there's probably some other things we might have missed. So, not surprising to me that we have a mix like that. What's the next one? Favorite LLM, ChatGPT, Grok and Claude, or I guess Claude's next, and then a few others mixed in there. Let's keep going. How many times? 80% of people say they use it every day. Well, sorry, yeah, 50% are every day or all day, and then everyone else is a few times a week. Most people have a paid account, but not everybody. And then here are some, I thought you might want to see this, Austin. Here are some of the other, just like what else are you doing? More people coding with Cursor, more people accessing an API to an LLM than I was expecting, which is great.
Interesting.
And I don't know, those are just me thinking of random things to ask. What else would you have asked? What would you put on that list, Austin?
I'm surprised to see deep research. I guess you guys are college students, so that you're probably using it. What custom GPTs are you all using or building?
50% of you. That's the first assignment we're going to do today. So what have you built for a custom GPT?
I would build one, but use one for
Use other people's.
yeah, like stick right into the reality.
So you're like searching through the library for, or someone recommended one?
Yeah, like on chat.
Like the GPT plugin store or whatever.
Yeah.
So you can search up
That makes sense.
Yeah, very cool. Anybody else?
I was working at a startup like 2 years ago, and they had me build a custom GPT for their LLM so they could like sell it and have non-technical people see how it works.
Cool. What else would you put on this list of things to ask? Of like things, have you done this? If you were trying to get a sense of who's here and what they would be.
I think that's pretty good. Have any of you used an MCP server before?
What does that mean?
Model context protocol. Basically, it's a way that you can, in a programming environment, plug in tools into your LLM so it can reach outside and do other stuff without leaving.
Interface with other data and other
Yeah.
things. Yeah, so like when I connect it to my Google, my Gmail,
Yeah.
my calendar.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it's becoming, it's similar to what an API used to be, right? There's an MCP for
Endpoint.
everything.
Yeah. Oh, and I feel late to the game, but I just started playing with agents this weekend, connected to my Gmail and my calendar, and it's like things I've been dreaming of my whole life. Like I have a great team and a great assistant and other people that help me, but everybody's human, and it's hard sometimes to like people make mistakes or overlook things, right? And like to be able to have it like check for all these detailed things, and like find any of them. It's getting really close, and you can just tell it like search my calendar and look for this, or look through all the emails that came. I was like, look through all my emails from Amazon and tell me what packages are coming in the next few days. And it wasn't perfect, but it was pretty good. It was cool.
I mean, it's one of those. The way I think about AI is there are a handful of software was really good at very specific, very discrete things. So in other words, if you knew exactly what you wanted, you could get it. But if there was any line of kind of fuzziness around that, there's a famous XKCD where they're like, okay, I want to
Cartoon.
Yeah, it's a cartoon where they talk about like, okay, if you're saying, okay, I want to be able to take a picture of a bird and know where I took the picture of it. An engineer would have been like, okay, that's 30 seconds, that's a GPS lookup, latitude and longitude. Okay, and I want to know what kind of bird it is. Okay, I need 15 years, $100 million, and a team of researchers. All of that stuff that used to be $15 million, $100 million, 15 years, $100 million, and a team of researchers, now you get for free. You get pretty much out of the box. And it's fascinating to watch all the companies that I've invested in and Josh invested in try to figure out how to wrap their minds around all this, because it's such a completely different world where there's a whole new subset of things you can do. There are things that used to be impossible that are now easy. You can layer those in and sell them to your existing customers. You can create new businesses around that. And so, it's a bigger upheaval than I think we've seen since probably the internet, as far as software goes. It's just so completely different. So you guys are lucky to get to be kind of the digital, you know, I got the internet as a birthday present when I turned 9, and I grew up with the internet. And you can tell the older generation before me didn't have that same level of intimacy with it. And so like when I would just Google stuff and find the answer, older folks would, you know, would be surprised.
You might have to ask me to Google stuff. Come on, like, you know,
Yeah,
you can do it.
You guys get to be that, but for the AI generation. You can become AI native, and you know, if you live and breathe it every day, it gets to the point where, you know, the students at Gauntlet will know exactly which model to use and which way, because they know that it will answer a slightly different way. And you guys can be that level too. It's just a huge, huge advantage.
Okay, let's riff on that. So let's talk about models. We did a survey of which models people use. Most people use ChatGPT. When most people that I talk to about AI are fairly novice, and so I tell them, and the first thing they say is, "Well, which model should I use?" I'm like, "You shouldn't even think about that. Just use ChatGPT. Like you're not at the level of like it's not gonna matter. Like and it's just the most common thing. And that's honestly that's still where I am. Like I use it every day. I use it a lot. I'm trying to do sophisticated things, but like I'm not at the point where I'm like you were just saying like they know like for that question you should use this model in ChatGPT, or for that question you should use Claude or Grok. I'm just like, can I just ask a better question yet? Like, so at what point do you cross that line? At what point are you like, you know what, like you really need to be looking at different options?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, it changes because the models change so frequently as well. I mean, I'm still.
I know, but for me, I'm just below that level. I'm just like, and I see you post and you're like, every day, like there's a new thing that's the best, and I'm like, I'm still using ChatGPT every day, like.
Yeah, do you guys want me to give you the 30-second version of which models you should use for what?
Give us the today. What's the snapshot today?
All right.
Tonight.
Today, generically, yes, use whatever model ChatGPT is throwing at you. That probably works for most things. I think the default is 4.0 right now. Even though 5.0 technically is out, they're kind of trying to make everybody default to 4.0, which I think is a better model anyways. So a lot of the confusion happens because OpenAI sucks at naming their products, honestly. So think of, if you have an O at the end, just ignore the O. That's ChatGPT 4.0 is just ChatGPT 4 powerful, right? If you put the O before the number, then that means like deep research, that means more difficult to answer questions. It's going to search the web more, it's going to think more. So O3, which is the most recent thinking model, if you have a really difficult question to answer, or if 4.0 is struggling with something, then I would go to O3, generally speaking.
So O3 is actually smarter than 5.
O3 searches a lot harder.
Works harder.
Yeah, it's harder working. It takes longer. It will look at a lot more information. It'll Google a lot more. It'll combine different Google searches and kind of mishmash all of that together. So it thinks harder. 4.0 is a really good generic model. There's specific stuff for coding. Let's see, but I'll ignore that for now. We'll get to that. Anything video related or like image understanding, Gemini is the best because Google is, and specifically anything, if you're using YouTube in any way, because Gemini is very, very clearly trained on all of YouTube to the point that you can like copy and paste a URL into a Gemini chat window and it instantly knows everything about the video. They've got all the information. It doesn't have to like go watch the video the same way ChatGPT would and figure it out. It knows all of the videos. Anything that's on YouTube, it's already been trained on. And so anything image recognition, recognizing handwriting, reading a screen, anything visual, Gemini is the best at. For stuff kind of in between 4.0 and 0.3, so it's like, I want to do a quick, so my browser has Perplexity set to be the default search engine instead of Google. It's just a better, and full disclosure, I'm an investor in Perplexity, but it does a really, really good job of kind of searching stuff. If you want to go hardcore deep research, so this one will be good for you for your for school projects and stuff. I love Manus, M-A-N-U-S. What it does is it has something called deep wide research. So if you imagine each O3 prompt as like a deep research, it's gonna, so they call it deep research sometimes, right? So it's gonna pull in all the documents that it can find that are related. It's going to read those documents, understand everything, and go deeper and deeper and deeper. Manus will run like 25 deep researches in parallel. So it will take your prompt and it will create other prompts that are similar, run all the deep researches at the same time, and then try to coalesce them back together. So it's really, really good for, I mean, some Gauntlet students were like, hey, we're looking at, potentially buying a company out of bankruptcy that is in this specific industry. Tell me everything about this industry. And it created a 25-page report that, I feel sorry for your professors because I have no idea how they can verify if you guys have done any of this work. But it's really, really good at deep, deep research. And then we'll talk about coding really quickly. Claude Opus is the best coding model, generally speaking, if you wanted to do a lot of stuff. You can use Claude Code for that. If you're making more precision, fine-tuned edits, Claude 3.5 seems to be the winner. If you want to get if you want to have something that understands your entire code base, use Gemini because that has a bigger context window. And I can have all this sent over to Josh so you don't have to know.
So at some level, it's like you move to one because you hit a limitation with one.
So
others,
so the way I think about it is right now most people have a hammer, and a hammer is an incredibly useful tool for 90% of things. But if you get good at AI, you have a full tool belt. So you can say, here's my hammer versus here's my nail gun. They're slightly different, even though the purpose is driving nails. Or here's a screwdriver, or here's, instead of trying to pull stuff out with the back of a hammer, you actually want a saw type of thing. So yeah, there's a whole tool set, and it changes all the time. Sometimes the hammer gets an upgrade, and then you don't like the new hammer as much. But AI is a set of tools that you can wield to do whatever you need to do.
What's the best news source or place you go to keep up with how the stuff that changes every day?
Twitter. I mean, there's not
Who do you follow on Twitter? Or do they just follow you?
Definitely follow me. But no, there's
just Austin with an E.
Yeah, there are a few lists out there. I think I've created a couple of lists for learning about AI. Yeah. But honestly, it's just a matter of curating your feed and following the right people. Riley Brown.
I went and followed a whole bunch of Gauntleters.
That definitely helps.
Yeah.
We have lists of all the Gauntlet cohorts, so Gauntlet Cohort 1 list, Gauntlet Cohort 2 list. All they talk about is living in Austin and AI. So
and Gauntlet.
And Gauntlet, yeah. So if those things are relevant to you, they're great to follow.
Side note, it's funny, I came here to Austin in 1999, right out of college, to work at a company called Trilogy, founded by a guy named Joe Limon, who's still here. He hasn't done a podcast or an interview in 25 years. He just released one about Alpha School, which is a high school he started here in Austin. But he's also working with Austin on Gauntlet. And with Alpha, they call it love of school. With Gauntlet, you see this cult-like, the Gauntlet, people love Gauntlet. And we certainly aspire for that with Capital Factory, but that's such a common Joe trait that's making people just absolutely fanatically love what they're doing. It's great.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think some of the best decisions we've made at Gauntlet is when we set out for the first cohort of Gauntlet, and Joe actually talked about this a little bit in the podcast, which was an honor because he's literally like a deca billionaire that hasn't done an interview in 25 years, which is kind of wild. But you should all watch it. He's just a fascinating guy. But he talked about when he first saw the way that we were advertising and marketing Gauntlet, he was like, nobody will want to do that because, Gauntlet is 100-hour weeks. You show up at the office 8 a.m. And you leave the office around midnight, 6 days a week, and then on the 7th day you show up at noon and you leave at midnight, and you do that all 10 weeks. So it is completely all in. If you were to, people would show up at the office at 11 p.m. completely full every single day. And we advertised that we were going to run Gauntlet that way, and so many people were like, that's not appealing to me at all. That's not appealing to anybody. Who would want that? But there is a type of person that sees that and thinks, oh, that sounds fun. That sounds really interesting. I want to be that dedicated to something. I want to be that involved. And those are the people that we want to attract. So I think, some of the secrets that I've learned over the years are that being very precise about who you do and don't want to attract as a customer to your company are some of the most important decisions that you can make. When you're standing for something, by default, there are people that are going to be excluded from that, and you want them to be excluded. So on day one of Gauntlet, we basically say, there's the door. If you want to withdraw, please withdraw. If you're not certain if you want to be here, please don't come. We're not trying to be inclusive. We're not trying to accept everybody on the planet. We're trying to find a bunch of crazy people like ourselves that want to be all in on this. And if that's you, welcome, here's your tribe. And that has been really, really successful. And I'm a big fan of doing things that way. In the past, I've been caught trying to kind of cater to everybody at the same time, and then you end up catering to nobody. And I think that's a really difficult, every day we're looking at people trying to give us money and saying no. And that's a difficult thing to do, especially if you've never had money before. But,
Wow, that makes me think of two things. One, I think actually one of the things that only the CEO gets to, in most companies, gets to say no to money or revenue. Like
everybody else is saying no to money.
Everybody else wants to close the deal
without running it by me. Yeah.
Oh, what if we did the deal this way? Can you close this? And believe it or not, it's actually usually an instant. I find that's my role here at Capital Factory too. So I'm like, no, we don't do that. We're not going to do that. That's not the business we're in. We need to stay focused on the right things. And along those lines, at Capital Factory, one of our core values is focus on the entrepreneur. And we have a lot of different stakeholders. We have investors that are really important that are here all the time. We have corporate partners, big companies that are here. This is our government floor. We've got the Army's right there, and the Department of Defense, and the Air Force, and Navy, and everyone else. But our focus is on the entrepreneur. And so I constantly have a pull of people trying to make us more corporate, make it feel more comfortable for the corporates and for the government people. And I have to remind them, no, they're not supposed to be. It's not supposed to feel comfortable for them. It's supposed to feel comfortable for the entrepreneurs. And that's why they want to be here. It's because it looks like a place that's not like their other place. It looks like a place for the entrepreneurs, and that's where they want to be. I like that. Yeah. So, a couple more questions from me, and I'm going to see if you guys have any questions for Austin. Austin, frequently something comes out, and I'm like, I didn't see that coming. Whoa, that's cool, right? But there's got to be some things are obviously coming. What are the things we're going to see later this year in AI that'll be big advances?
There are a couple of things that I have seen that they're still, in some cases 6 months or years away. But robotics are getting really good in a way that, when I was your guys' age, going into robotics was a fool's errand because at the end of the day, hardware is freaking impossible, and you're trying to control these very simple parts to do complex stuff, and it was a nightmare. Now robotics can use AI in a way to react and respond to the environment, and I think we're going to see a lot more, robotics actually makes sense in a way that it didn't for a long time. And there's all sorts of, that means a bunch of different things. I took a Tesla robotaxi to get here, right? That 6 months ago, people were saying that robotaxis weren't going to happen, and now they're here, and I ride them all the time, and it's no big deal. There's going to be a lot like that. There's, companies in Austin that are building, autonomous bulldozers and autonomous skid steers, autonomous backhoes. Like that was completely unfathomable not long ago. The other thing that I think, the thing that's keeping me up at night is actually a conversation that me and Elon had on Twitter a couple of weeks ago, where he basically, he was talking about, I think he quote tweeted me and was like, hey, Paul Graham was talking about how somebody in I don't know if you know who Paul Graham is. He's the founder of Y Combinator and kind of a godfather to many
Awesome
startups.
entrepreneur, writer,
Phenomenal.
tweeter.
Yeah. So he was talking about how at Y Combinator there were all sorts of companies. There was an individual who was writing, I think it was 10,000 lines of code a day, and it was good code. And he was like, I think that might be like, maybe that's the maximum, but 10,000 lines of code. Imagine writing like 7 chapters of a book in a day. Like that's roughly the equivalent. And so everyone was saying like that there's no way that code must have sucked, that there's must have been bad. And I was one of the few saying like, no, I 1000% believe that if you have someone who's really smart and good with AI, they can write 10,000 really solid lines of code. And Elon replied to me and said, yeah, actually, in the future you won't even need to write code. And I was like, yeah, at Gauntlet, like when we start, people aren't writing code. And Elon replied to me and said, no, you're still missing it. Like in the future, you're just going to have neural networks that do all of the work for everything. So you're going to have some bitwise input. So you think about the way an electric car drives, right? It's driving along the road and it's taking in all the inputs, and then there's a neural net that decides what to do with it, and it's spitting out the outputs, which are driving the car and showing you the screen. And he was saying that the way that things are going, if they get enough compute, that a lot of software could be that way. So in other words, when you're going to a website,
It's kind of just magic.
yeah. So right now you go to a website and it's like someone has pre-programmed exactly what's going to show up, and then when you hit the button, it knows that, okay, I'm going to send that call over to this server and I'm going to put that data in that place. Elon's saying that in the near future, he says the near future, heaven knows what that actually means, but you won't have software written at all. It'll just be neural nets deciding in real time what information to display, and then based on your reaction to that information that's displayed, it automatically adjusts. So they're very early. Veo 3 was one of them, or Genie 3, like video games where instead of somebody like pre-programming a video game world, it's actually just, okay, with every step the character takes, so if you push forward or W or whatever, the neural net is going to analyze everything and regenerate the world with every single step. So with every step, it's just completely fresh, completely new. And that means you won't ever experience the software the same way, which is terrifying for a lot of business cases. But it means you don't have to have all of the software pre-written. The game can kind of build itself in real time around you, or the software can build itself in real time around people. So I got...
Okay, you're getting way out there.
Yeah.
So like, what about the thing that like, one more, give us one more, this is definitely happening this year.
I mean,
Like, gonna blow your mind, but you probably don't realize it.
I think just the speed and pace at which software can be built. So we haven't announced this yet, but there are a few companies that used to be really big and went bankrupt, and they used to have 50 engineers and spend $100 million in engineering. They're giving them over to Gauntlet, and we're going to see if we can rebuild them in 2 weeks with AI, and I think we probably will be able to. So when stuff like that is possible, I don't know that software becomes free, but the cost of producing software goes way, way, way down. And that means if you're a software entrepreneur, the number of shots on goal you can take is an order of magnitude higher. So it used to be when Josh and I would, give a company a couple $1 million, that would buy them one shot on goal with a team of engineers. It would take like a year and a half to know if there's an error there. Now I'm looking at it as, okay, if I take a really good engineer, maybe I can hire a Gauntlet grad who costs me $200K. They could probably build the equivalent of one of those companies in a week. So for $200K, I can now have 50 shots on goal. So if my shot on goal cost is $10,000, that's just a completely different world than the way it used to be. And so I look at it and say, okay, there's going to be way more software. There's going to be less reason to buy software because you can build more internally if you know what you're doing. Although to be fair, 95% of companies don't know what they're doing. The cost of creating a new company is going to, to me it already feels really cheap, and to Josh it already feels really cheap because in the 90s you had to raise $5 million, and your first $1 million would go to Netscape, and your second $1 million would go to servers, and then you could start writing software. Now that's all free. I think in a similar way, companies will start to approach free. So you're going to have one-person billion-dollar startups in the future. We're not there yet, but I think that's coming.
Yeah. All right. Do you guys have any what's questions that you have for Austin? What are you thinking about? Say your name so I can start learning your names.
Yeah, my name's Josh. My main question, you kind of hit on this a bit before with all the different types of LLMs and which ones are good at what. As an investor, is that concerning to you at all? With all these ones that are good at certain things, they're eventually going to be one incumbent. So
You invested in Perplexity.
Wipe out the entire competition.
Seems like that was a good investment. Would you invest in more LLMs?
If I could invest in another Perplexity, yes. That was pretty good return. I sold a chunk of it, which dig on that. Anyways, so first and foremost, the way that I look at it is I'm so glad that I'm not in the business of building LLMs because to begin to play that game, it costs $1 billion. And you look at what, Elon's team did with XAI, they're, 120 hours a week putting all this hardware together, training the model, it takes a year and a half. And then I look at the chart of which LLMs you guys like, and Grok was like number 5, right? If the best entrepreneur of our generation spends several $billion and many of the best engineers ever are spending all of their time and effort and energy, and they're still coming in like a distant 3rd place, now granted, the game's not over, right? But I want to be in the business of consuming those products, and I'll buy whoever wins. And the crazy thing for LLMs is I know how much money and effort goes into them, and then the minute something comes out that's 5% better, I'm swapping it out just like that, and I don't care. So for me, I'm not in a position, there are a few people on the planet that can play that game. I'm also an investor in Replit, and Replit, when they were getting started, they thought that they were going to build the best LLM for coding, and after a while they're like, you know what, we just need to build the software layer, just the agent that uses the LLMs in the background. It doesn't make any sense for us to build the LLM, and they went from, I think they were at like 3 million in annualized revenue, and they just 1 year later hit 150 million in annualized revenue. In 1 year, that's so crazy. I invested far too late in that one, but it's still a win. But I think being a consumer of these products and these models is going to be the right place. It's going to change so much in the next 6 months, the next year.
So he's just saying, I'm going to use all the best ones. I'm just going to pay for it.
I'll just wait and see. Because the first Gauntlet cohort started in January, and they graduated in March or early April. And we went around the Gauntlet cohort in early April when they graduated and said, hey, what would you do if you had to use AI the way it was in January, 12 weeks ago when you guys started? And the first person I asked that, he just said offhand, I'd kill myself. That's 12 weeks of progress, right? And that's just going to, the pace of change is pretty vertical, and it's just going to speed up. So I think that if I were in your guys' shoes, what you want to do is get as close to the edge of the cutting edge of AI as you possibly can while you have time and effort and energy while you're in school, and just ride that wave. And if you ride that wave, it's going to take you to really, really cool places. It's going to be a really difficult 10 years from now to go from 0 to the edge of the wave. If you guys get there now, you can just ride it the whole way.
Other questions? Luke?
What do you look for when selecting people for Gauntlet?
Yeah, I mean, we do.
What about just the tests to start?
Yeah, we do 2 tests, and 99% of it is based on the 2 tests. And really 95% of it is based on the first test. We do an IQ test, which is not very politically correct, but it is extremely deterministic, and we're big fans of it. So we do an IQ test. The good thing about IQ tests is they are very predictive, they're very simple. Ours takes like 15 minutes. The bad thing about IQ tests is it's very difficult to study for to dramatically improve your score over time, which is one of the reasons we like it. But I mean, you guys are all here at UT, so you're probably skewing toward high IQ, to be totally honest. And then we do a coding test, but the coding test, you could spend 6 months learning how to code and pass the coding test. Those are the 2 things. And then we're gonna work you until you are completely exhausted. And if you can get through those 3 things, you're gonna be great at Gauntlet, and it turns out companies are gonna kill to hire you on the other side. Which is how we get paid. I didn't even talk about that, but so everything is completely free for students. They never pay us anything no matter what, and we make all of our money by charging a recruiting fee to the hiring partners that hire Gauntlet grads on the other side.
You mentioned like Cursor, Replit, and like Claude Code, a few of those ones. What do you have like your engineers at Gauntlet use, or what do you personally use right now?
Yeah, there's a religious battle on exactly what you should use. So the way I break it down right now is if you're new to coding or you don't understand code, use Replit. And if you are good at coding or you know how to code really well, you use Cursor for small edits and Claude for big edits. So Cursor with Claude 3.5 for like small edits. If you want AI to like go build a new feature, then I use Claude Code. And there's stuff like Claude Swarms and Taskmaster and Repo Prompt. There's all sorts of stuff, but I'd say most of you guys could start with Replit and do a lot of damage. And at the level that you guys are, Cursor and Claude Code, you probably won't notice too much of a difference. Either of them will work.
Is there one over there? Yeah.
Do you think we need to make sure the net effect of AI on the planet is positive before we start scaling and deploying it?
The question was, how do we make sure the net effect of AI on the planet is positive?
Who do you think that we should make sure?
Who is it we?
Do you think that people should make sure that it's positive net?
How do I do that?
I'm just asking you. What do you think?
I mean, yeah. So they're I didn't mean to like ask that to be flippant. Like, I think to some extent the cat is out of the bag, and it's going to happen whether or not we want it to, because there's so many different parties pushing it forward. I'm pretty optimistic about AI. There are things that make me really nervous about it. Like, I'm sure I've seen a few cases of people who like. ChatGPT right now, if you try to use it as a therapist, is way too sycophantic. So it will agree with you and tell you you're doing the right thing, even if you're not. And so there are cases where people are relying on that for judgment, without really understanding that like it's just, all an LLM is doing is trying to like, okay, based on the text that you've given me, I'm going to spit out the most reliable text that's most likely to be next. Right, so that could totally be dangerous. As far as regulating it, I don't think we should. I'm personally biased against regulating it because
Electricity and water, and should we even monitor things like that and get statistics on stuff like that?
I mean, to be honest, I don't really care, and I'll tell you why. Because the amount of electricity that these things use it rounds to 0, and it's totally true in the scheme of things. And the ability to generate electricity is far surpassed what we're using in any data center. I feel like the water use numbers are completely irrelevant because water's not like, it's not used, right? They're recycling, they're super efficient with all of the water. The water doesn't go away in the sense that it's a renewable resource by definition. You could reallocate that water to different places, but the amount of water that's being used isn't something that should concern us.
Yeah, one of the things with in general with technology is, and there's just different ways to look at it. Like people are gonna have different perspectives, and there's lots of sci-fi books that will give you like best case scenarios and the worst case scenarios of like how it could all play out. But to a little bit to Austin's point, like I try to think about what role can I play, and what influence can I have? And there's times when like I've met the president, a couple presidents, and I can have some influence on some people, but like I still don't really have that much influence, and I really can't tell them what to do. So I try to focus on what are the things that I can do, and how do I be a positive influence on those things. And fortunately, I don't think that it's there's no guarantees of this, but fortunately, I feel like overall technology has, and these types of advances have generally been used in a more the net has been positive. It's made human life better and other things in a lot of ways. People might disagree, but that's what I think. And so I'm pretty optimistic that it will continue to. And so what I can do is like try to make sure the things I'm doing are like really positive and contribute to that. That's kind of my approach to everything. But I also think, like Austin said, like you can't stop it. Like it's not like we can tell it not to do AI. Like it's going to happen anyway. So again, like how do I be part of the solution? Other questions? Back.
Yeah, do you think LLMs are going to plateau? Like a lot of the responses to new like GPT-5 is that it's not as good compared to like GPT-4 and GPT-3. So do you think it's going to plateau, or do you think it's going to continue on the rate?
I mean, the iPhone was never good after 5.
Yeah, I think, depends on your definition of plateau. They're definitely going to run out of data to train against if they haven't already. So the likelihood that LLMs find new sources of data you can just train on the old way, I think it will plateau in that sense, that you won't see as big of a jump. That said, I think Sam made a miscalculation with GPT. I could get into like the way they trained GPT-5 and tried to pass it off as a completely new model while they're really trying to save a bunch of money on inference was probably ill-advised. But I think there's so far to go around the tooling and how the data is used and the implementation of the ways that we've got a long way to go before we're maxed out. So whether that's at the LLM layer or the app layer or the data layer post-LLM or the fine-tuning layer, we're still, if we're talking about the internet, we're in like 1992 right now. So we're just barely getting started.
All right, there are a bunch more questions. We'll work our way over. First in the purple, and we'll keep going this way.
So how structured or unstructured do you say Gauntlet would be? Like I know you said you made a Slack phone in the first week. Like how about like the rest of the
Yeah, so it starts off extremely structured, and then we pull the scaffold away over time. So the last couple of weeks, you're pretty much just on your own building a project. We're having you pitch and demo, and we're critiquing and stuff like that. But the way to think of it is it starts extremely rigid, extremely structured, and over time becomes less so.
Just to repeat for everybody, she could be a researcher building like the core AI tech, or she could be building solutions on top of it, riding the wave.
I think you can't lose either way, to be honest.
It's more like what kind of person are you?
Yeah, like pursue whatever you're interested in. There's plenty of work to be done on the research side. There's plenty of work to be done on the application layer. The entire tech industry is going to have to reinvent itself from scratch in the next 10 years. So it's going to be all hands on deck doing that. The reason I say that you guys are fortunate is because you get to enter this world where everything's in convulsion all of the time. It's a lot easier to break your way in and to make a bigger impact in a world where everyone's figuring things out from scratch than, if you look at like sciences where nothing changes, they end up, it takes a lot longer. So if you look at like physics as an example, right? There's no giant physics upheaval every 10 years. It ends up being very structured. You have to work your way from the bottom, and it's very hierarchical. Tech is not that way. We had I think it was 21-year-old who had never had a job before, just got hired making $250K a year, and that's the starting salary for him. And there are people that are, looking for work and have been having a difficult time of doing that. It's just, it's the wild, wild west for a little while, and I think it will be for the next decade or so.
Yeah, so my name is Gabriel. I went to the Thank You for your time Austin and Josh as well. My question was, you follow a lot of the Gauntlet or alumni, the people that finished the Gauntlet program. I'm curious, how many of them actually go through with that 200,000 offer, or how many of them actually go through to start your own startup, for example? Because it sounds like it's like a holy grail, right? Like you're teaching them how to make their own company. So how many go on to do that versus work for someone else?
Yeah. The first answer is that 200K is the floor. So the highest salary out of cohort 1 was just shy of $1 million a year, which is crazy, and that's like just cash. So there's a wide variety. I think most everybody has intent of building a company eventually, but right now there are enough companies that are solving a problem and desperately need AI engineers and are willing to throw money at the problem, that I think a lot are skewing toward working. I will say, I shouldn't announce this yet, so keep it quiet, but we're working through something with Andreessen Horowitz so that the people that do want to go start a company, Andreessen Horowitz will take those on and fund them through some of their stuff. But that's not official yet, so I shouldn't have said that. But we're thinking a lot about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So since you're an investor, you've always heard of the AI bubble. So I just wanted to hear
What do you think about bubbles in general? Is this a bubble?
I'm sure some companies are dramatically overvalued and some companies are dramatically undervalued. If you know how to tell which one is which, I can tell you how to make a lot of money. But I mean, look at it like in the internet, there was all sorts of junk that was overvalued, and there was PayPal and Amazon that people were saying were super bubbly at $100 million valuation. And if you invested in those, you earned a 10,000x return. I mean, some of the bubble comments I've seen have been like a much smaller window, like, oh, the bubble burst in the past 2 weeks. No, it didn't. We're just barely getting started. So, if you look at stuff going up and down, yeah, you can zoom in to any like tiny window and say, oh, this company, like, the analogy I saw people using are like, oh, Meta's getting rid of one of its AI inference teams. So the bubble burst. So like, Meta literally last month was giving out $100 million signing bonuses to people. Like, they're turning that team off to turn another team on. They're not like, Meta is not bearish on AI. That's crazy. So,
yeah. I
to be clear, is a $100 million signing bonus bubbly? That's frothy.
Yeah, that's bubbly.
That's
yeah, and so I think Mark Cuban had a saying that I've quoted before, which said, "If you're not in a bubble, get in one." And I think, look, nobody wants to be in the bubble when it bursts, but actually, you want to be in like a hot market, in a place where there's a lot of energy and a lot of attention, where there's a lot of money to be invested, where the most talented people want to work on it, right? Like, that's what all comes with being in a bubble. And really, maybe the fine print is like, is it a bubble that bursts? Like, everything gets a little ahead of itself, get a little whatever. There's examples that are overpriced, like the Meta stuff. But is this real? Like, the internet was a bubble, but the internet was real, and so it's all about when you got in and when you got out, right? But in general, yeah, I want to invest in bubbles. I want to be in things that are really hot and moving fast and exploding, and yeah, this is one of those.
I mean, I'll use this as an example. People were talking about Cursor and whether Cursor is, a bubble, and they have a crazy. I don't even know what the valuation is, but I'm sure it's crazy. But Cursor didn't really exist 2 years ago, and right now at Gauntlet, I pay Cursor about $2,000 per day, and I would happily pay that and more until the end of time because of what it provides for us. So that's new. Everybody that I talk to, Joe, they've got thousands of engineers, and he looks at his cursor bill going up and he says, that's awesome, because if my cursor bill is going up, that means my HR bill is going down. That means I'm getting more and more efficiency out of the people that I've hired because they're using AI more and more and more. Please rack up the cursor bills. So that's, I mean, is it bubbly? Is the valuation right? I don't know. It's always hard to say, you know. But it's not. So there's two definitions of bubble. One bubble is like it's all fake. You know, we're all buying tulips and trading around tulips, and tulips are inherently valueless. AI is definitely not that. AI is definitely valuable, definitely being used in real world applications. Definitely.
That was a reference to the tulip bubble in Denmark and
yeah, there was a time when people were
the 1400s.
just said that tulips were undervalued and extremely expensive, so they started trading tulips around for ridiculous amounts of money for no particular reason, right? You could make the argument that there was some of that. I mean, there's definitely some of that in Web3 land where people are trading whatever coin for however much money, and like there's no reason for it, but it's there. We'll accept Bitcoin and whatever else, like just meme coins. Is this company overvalued or undervalued? Who knows? Is AI a complete waste of time and lack of value that everybody's trading up the prices on, and it's going to all burst and there's going to be nothing there? Definitely not. So.
Who has not asked a question yet?
I have a question for you on the Gauntlet side. So, you said that you get paid through the employers who you essentially act as a recruiter for, or like a school kind of.
Yep.
How do you ensure that, or how do you kind of balance your interest for Gauntlet, the students' interest for whatever they're training for, whether it be self-employment in the future or getting a job, and then what the employers want, or are you just only doing what the employers want? Like, what's the way that you balance that?
I don't think they're too different because generally what people want are the skills that the employer is going to value. But we don't control what any students do. Like if you go through Gauntlet and you don't take a job, then that's on me for not having found a job that's compelling to you and interesting enough. And then we lost money on you, right? We also, from the employer side, we have a 90-day retention window where if they hire you and either you quit or they fire you, we don't get paid in that scenario either. So it does have to work. The other side of that I'm not shy to talk about is like and I tell our students that the students are not my customer, right? The students to me are really a product. And so my job isn't to make the customer happy. My job isn't to make the students happy. My job is to make the students super, super valuable and formidable and powerful. And I can't force them to take any job after that, but I can hopefully make them valuable enough that an employer is willing to pay them what they're worth and help match those things. But that's I try to be very transparent with students that because for a bunch of reasons. One is if you come to me and say, hey, it may make me better to do X, but I don't want to do X, I'm not going to, I'll say, okay, there's the door, right? That's not just for me, that's also for you, because then I can push you a lot harder than if you're, if I have to treat you like the customer is always right and I have to do what you want. No, you're going to do what I want in Gauntlet, and I think everybody's going to be better off for it. So.
Who else has not asked a question?
Hi, my name is Jasmine, and I was just wondering, as investors, what are some signals that you guys evaluate in one companies and two, just again on that question, in people and students?
What do you look for in companies you invest in and people you invest in?
Yeah, I feel like my calculus isn't really that different than any other investors, which is smart, hardworking team, good market. I focus primarily on the founder because some of the best companies I've invested in, I mean, Replit is an example. I invested when it was an educational tool, which I thought was really dumb. But I loved Amjad and the company so much that I invested. And then AI happened, and turns out they're a giant AI tool success. And I would tell Amjad that. I'm not shy of that. So I primarily look for a founder that is, I think, it's either Paul Graham or Mark Andreessen used the word formidable, where like the world is not going to happen to them. They're going to happen to the world, whether or not the world is ready for it. That's the number one thing that I look for.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's like, and it's hard. It's it's a fuzzy thing. It's not something you can measure with a stick. But it's like when I'm super, convicted. I've had a lot of conviction about a founder and a company I'm investing in. It's usually like this person is unstoppable in what they're trying to go do. Like, one, they have so much passion around it. They're so convincing that transfer of enthusiasm. They don't have to be jumping up and down. But when I walk away from it, I'm like, wow, I believe they're gonna go make that happen. And then also to a point that Austin was hinting at as well, and many other investors I've heard talk about this too. I mean, a lot of the best successes I've had they changed, they pivoted, they didn't start, and it's really, you're really investing, in that level, you really don't even know what you're investing in. Just because they say this is what it is now, doesn't mean what it's gonna be. And so you really are investing in the person at this early stage, and that they're gonna figure it out, that they're gonna deal with whatever comes at them. And that's about being resourceful. That's, to me, that's like the definition of an entrepreneur, is being resourceful means you find resources other people don't. Like, everybody else looks at this problem and goes, you shouldn't be able to do that. That doesn't add up. Like, it doesn't work. How can you do that? But an entrepreneur looks at it and they're like, they figure out a way to go do it. They're like, yeah, you're right. Like, most people couldn't go do this. But I scrapped this together. I used my credit card. I borrowed this from over there. I got someone to give me something for free. I did whatever it took to go, like, make it happen. And that's like being resourceful, and that's like one of those things.
Is there like a level of achievement these people tend to have? So like, you kind of proud people, so they're resourceful, or you think about them. Like, what's their level of achievement outside of this current startup idea that people get invested in? Like,
Not always, but usually. And I think that's another really good point. Like, and you're just like also like, I just like to invest in winners. Like, you meet somebody, like, that person's a winner. Like, doesn't mean every single thing they do works, but like, you know what? Like, they don't take no for an answer. They don't take, like, then when they lose, they keep trying, right? And like, and they're a winner. And like, how do you become a winner? Like, I don't know, you start small, like, right? Like, you develop a pattern of winning, like, but like, yeah, like, hit your goals, be a winner, like, do your things and like deliver. And like, a lot of that's really basic stuff, like communication, showing up on time, like, like things like that really matter. But yeah, to me, it's like, I do think like when I meet somebody and you can say like, wow, like the last thing they did, they worked really hard on, or they, and this is what they accomplished. And the last thing like, yeah, that's going to be really compelling.
Yeah, it's definitely where there's smoke, there's usually fire thing. So, it's not necessarily a requirement, but you are like, by definition, being a founder of a successful company is just ridiculously difficult. The odds are completely stacked against you. You have to overcome a zillion challenges. So finding the person that's able to do that, and I can only speak for my own portfolio construction. I think a lot of Josh's is the same. And he has 18,000 funds, but I'm pretty early, generally speaking. So it's like, I don't know if the market you're going after will change. I don't know if the company will change. I'm betting that there is a higher than X% likelihood that this person will create a company that's so valuable that it will make all the other bets pay off. And I know I'm going to be wrong 99% of the time. So it's all about finding that one extremely special person that's going to make everybody's lives. And I'm exaggerating a little bit. It's not quite
90% of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. 99% gets hard.
But yeah, the right mental model is this the person that's going to be just a crazy breakout success? What percentage likelihood would I attribute to that happening? If it's high enough, then I invest, and if it's not, then I don't.
But it's important to understand that your perspective as an investor is very different than as an entrepreneur.
1,000%.
Like, and as an entrepreneur, you only get to do one thing. So like, you gotta like, and it's a good way to make money. Like, I think being an entrepreneur is great. That's how I started, and like, I think it's actually one of the best ways to make a fortune and make your create wealth, and because you're betting on yourself, and like, it's really good. As an investor, you have a portfolio. If all investors, as a good investor, you have a portfolio strategy, right? And I'm the general rule of thumb is like 1 out of 12 or 1 out of 20. You know, I would say 1 out of 100. But it's like, yeah, like you're gonna go invest in a dozen companies, and one of those is gonna be a home run. But like, if you knew which one, like, you wouldn't invest in all the other ones. Like, you know, like you just invest in that one. Like, you know, they all look good at the beginning. You know, like that's the point. You got to pick ones that all look good, but you know, like actually, like most of them aren't gonna work. Like one of them's gonna work, and that's gonna make up for all the other ones. You know, like probably with one more question. Who has not asked one?
Hi, my name is Sarah. So a problem I've heard with like healthcare and AI is that like with HIPAA, there's an issue with the current like models currently like pull information, they can like use it with their patients, but like the models they do have a problem because if it's not detailed enough. Is there a way to create, I don't know AI that well, but is there like a model you can create that's like, I don't know, is there like a vacuum where you can't like pull information from outside? Is that like a thing? Or
Yeah, that's a really good question. There are a couple ways you can do that. So one is you have service level agreements with the companies. So there are frameworks like AWS Bedrock that let you create HIPAA compliant containers for all that stuff. So they have a deal with OpenAI where you can run, you know, an OpenAI model, but there's an agreement that it's not going to leave these walls or whatever. We had some cancer researchers turn Gauntlet students that did a, you know, genome analysis and stuff, which, as you can imagine, it's super, like, if there's one thing you don't want to leak, it's like, this is this person's gene, you know? So they decided to do everything locally using a local model, so nothing ever leaves the machine, and they don't even store the data. So there are strategies you can do around that, but that's very real, especially, you know, healthcare, financial services, stuff like that, where you have to be really careful with data. And you know, even some bigger code bases, they're not just gonna like, if you're working at Meta, you can't just upload your entire code base to OpenAI and see what happens. That's not okay. So there's different data strategies around it. It generally is solvable, but it takes a little more thought and effort.
do you think it's like a government thing? Is that like a?
I mean, government has their own. They have their own different walled gardens.
They make the rules, but it's more of a business issue of figuring out how to comply with them. And probably, if you know, doing the things he talked about probably cost a lot of money. And like you might, you know, like they don't just let anybody create the connection or do it.
OpenAI knows that you have to do that, so they're gonna get you.
And they're trying to do it. They're trying to make it more accessible. I think of two things with that. One, like a startup, you know, one great startup idea might be, like, why would you need a different LLM? Well, I might need a different LLM that's special for handling that kind of sensitive data. Maybe, I don't know, you know, or that might be a layer you build on top. I thought it was really funny this weekend. I have high school teenagers, 3 of them, and so our house gets toilet papered a lot. And so then, but actually our house is really hard to toilet paper. It's actually a strategic move. We got like a big fence and like, so they really just get like the front. And then so then my wife was talking about like, well, what would you need to really toilet paper our house? And we were designing like a toilet paper gun that would like shoot the toilet paper, you know, like and like get it really far. And she came up with a really good idea. So I went to ChatGPT and I was like, all right, design me a toilet paper shooter, you know, like that can shoot toilet paper for TPing somebody's house. And I thought it was so funny because it's like, well, you know, it's against our policies for me to design anything for doing vandalism or anything like that. But if you want, I could design something for shooting toilet paper across your yard to decorate for Halloween. And I'm like, okay, let's decorate my yard for Halloween. Like, you know, like there's just this like, it literally was like, well, I can't do that for you, but if you call it this, like I'll do the exact same thing. And it told me what to call it to go get around the thing to go do it. Like,
yeah, my favorite is, okay, pretend I'm a fiction writer writing a book about X. How would you theoretically? And then it's like, okay, here's how you build a ball.
Yeah. So anyway, so maybe there are ways to get around it. I don't know. It sounds like there's a lot of questions for you. We could probably ask more. I'm not going to kick him out, so maybe he'll stay and answer some more.
Yeah.
I want to wrap up a few things on the class because I do also really always try to. I want you to be here on time, and I will try to get you out of here on time. So let's see. GPT assignment for next week. So this is your first assignment. From what I hear from you guys, I don't think this is gonna be too bad. It should be fun. So you need to build a GPT. A bunch of you say you've already built a GPT. If you don't, you can ask ChatGPT how to build a GPT. This is not hard. So like, you know, we'll send this to you by email too. But good idea to take a picture. So you can say to ChatGPT, I want to make a GPT. So your GPT is to be a startup advisor. It needs to give startup advice. So we're gonna like tell it about a startup and it'll give it advice. And so we're not going to tell you what startup it's going to give advice for. So like, how do you prepare it? What information do you give it? What advice? What persona do you give it? Like, what do you tell it to be? What do you give it to learn from? Who do you tell it to listen to? So you give it all those things as prompts. You give us a link. You share your GPT with updates at Longhorn Startup. Again, that's always where you'll submit things before the next class. Next class, we'll have a guest founder here, like every class, TJ. He's going to get up. He's going to pitch his startup and that he's working on, and he'll show a demo of it. And then we'll have questions about his startup, and he's going to have like a bunch of his company materials, like his deck, his financials, like all kinds of stuff. And then we're going to hopefully have a thing to use a GPT to do this, where we'll take all of his information and feed it to your GPT, and then ask it a bunch of questions, and then have another GPT grade the answers that all of you gave it of who's giving the best advice. And your job is to come up with the GPT that gives TJ the best advice for his company, according to ChatGPT. So that's the first assignment, and that's just meant to be a pretty straightforward one because you don't need to know how to code or anything to do a GPT. It's all just talking to it. But lots of opportunities to be creative here. And from there, we'll probably do like 1 or 2 more of these kind of building assignments. Like maybe an agent will be the one that we do next. Before we get kind of like Austin described with Gauntlet, where it got more open-ended, where we'll get more to like, okay, now use whatever you want to build something, but we'll ease into it that way. Any questions about that? We'll send this out as well, and we'll be able to answer questions. We didn't really get to introduce you. Do you want to say hi? I've been pointing at you all night.
Hi everyone, my name is Anjali. I'm going to be your TA for the fall semester. I'm currently a junior majoring in corporate communications and doing a minor in business. I actually worked on the ventures team at Capital Factory last summer and through the academic year with Nick. So I'm pretty well versed with Capital Factory if you guys have questions about that. Josh and the rest of the team have put together a really great guest speaker lineup, so all the classes should be really interesting. I'm excited. If you guys need to email me, emails on the syllabus. I'm happy to also reach out to announcements if you guys want to do that. Let me know if you have any questions.
Awesome. Thank you. Super excited to have your help. Funny, side note story to show you what a small world it is. I moved here in 1999 to work for Trilogy for Joe Lemont, and right at that same time that I was graduating from Carnegie Mellon, Anjali's dad was graduating from Harvard Business School with his MBA, and he came down here to Austin, and he was one of my mentors, working at Trilogy for a year or so, working on a startup that we built there. And so funny, small world, things all come around. She got the job on her own, but that was a funny story. She got the door open that way. All right, so that's the assignment for next week. We'll send some more info out this week, and I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm really glad you're all here, and again, we're going to be learning and listening and experimenting, but I think it's gonna be a really great semester. So last, I'm going to give you a pitch, just to close it out. Just to show you one more example. I'm going to tell you about this little clip I'm wearing. Anybody know what this is?
Like recording a transcript in AI summary.
Yeah, this one's called the Limitless Pin, limitless.ai.com, and it's a limitless pin. It's an audio recorder, and so this is a clip. I wear it pretty much every day, and just like when you're in any meeting, and it like asks if it wants, every like 15 things pop up asking if they can record your meeting and transcribe it. Well, this does this to actually like my whole day, like everybody I'm talking to, and it knows my voice, it knows when I'm talking, and then it picks up what anybody else is saying. And kind of like you were talking about with HIPAA, it puts it all into its own special LLM that is private. So it's got all my conversations from everything I've done, and I can ask questions like, give me a summary of Austin's interview today. What was his advice about about how the best LLMs or the best tools to go use? Some of the best use cases I've found. I don't know if you've ever like gone to the doctor's office, you sit there talking to the doctor, and then you walk out, and then maybe your significant other, or your mom, or spouse, or someone else says like, "What did the doctor tell you?" And you're like, "I have no idea. I don't remember." Like that happens to me all the time. Like I kind of know, but I couldn't tell you all the details. They ask some question, like I don't know. Like now, every time I go to the doctor, like I have exactly what the doctor told me, and I can like get back a summary of it. Last week we had this big conference, and I got to I meet all these different people, and I'm shaking hands all day, and I'm having meetings, and I'm telling them all these things I'm gonna go do, and I'm getting introduced to all these people, and I can say like, list out everybody that I met today, list out everything I told somebody I might go do, right? everything I told someone I might go do. So I think it's super interesting, and I think that in the world of AI, and especially in the future, it's actually all about data. Everyone says that. So what makes your AI powerful is not having a better algorithm, because there's like a million LLMs and a million algorithms, and you can hot swap between them so easily. It's what data do you have to put in that makes it smart, right? And I have my data. It's like my data is just useful to me. It wouldn't even be useful to me to have all my recordings, right? But to me, they're really useful. So anyway, I'm super excited about this. I don't use it I wear it every day. I don't ask it questions every day. I'm still like learning how to do it and when to do it. But I think it's super cool. And believe it or not, actually, in 2015, so 10 years ago, I wore a different clip. And it was a little camera that took a picture every 30 seconds. And I wore it for 5 years, every day. So I have 5 years of a picture every 30 seconds of whatever I was looking at. And this was before ChatGPT or anything like that. And I was doing this thought experiment inspired by Peter Thiel, another great investor. And he said, a great startup idea, you ask yourself, like, what do you think is true that nobody else thinks is true? What's your secret? What's the secret you have that everybody else hasn't figured out yet? And I was thinking about that problem. And at that time, I was thinking, with AI and everything else coming, like, we're going to want to collect more data. And I thought, then, and this was kind of crazy then, because people were not recording everything, and they weren't recording their meetings, and there wasn't even as much, like, social media. So it was creepy to record people. But I was like, I think we're actually going to be recording everything all the time, like, eventually, because it's just going to be so useful, because we're going to have AI, and there's going to be an AI listening to all of it. Has anyone seen the movie Her? Like, it's like they have an AI in your ear, like, all the time. Like it's totally going to happen. And so I saved all those photos. And I haven't done it yet, but it was like I was saving them for ChatGPT, for the day when I could, like, upload all those photos and be like, okay, like, tell me about all the people I meet. Like, tell me what my day is like. What, what could I do better? Like, it knows what I did in order and all the things. It understands all the photos, right? Like, so anyway, I'm getting past the pitch into the sidetrack. But it's relentless, and that's why I think it's awesome. That's going to change my life. Everybody recording everything all the time. All right, so you don't have to build anything for next week. Sorry, you do. You have to build a GPT. You don't have to build a pitch. So that was just a quick intro. There's a scan. We'll do this every class. So the beginning class, we'll do the quiz. The end of class, we'll do a quick check-in, and because this really is an attendance-based thing. And so don't get to the end of the semester and be like, oh, like I was at all the classes. I just didn't do the quizzes or check-in. I'm so sorry. I don't know what was I thinking. I didn't realize I had to scan and check in, because someone always says that at the end, and I'm like, I'm so sorry, but I can't really do much for you. So yeah, it's like, it's pass-fail. The main thing you got to do is come, check in. You got to get a thumbs up. You got to make a lean canvas. It's not hard to get an A in this class, and it should be fun. But you got to be here. So, and Jolly has the cute path parking slips. So if you did park here, you can come grab one from her. You can grab, and feel free to take a pizza as well if you want. I think that's it. We'll see you next week.
I live in West Campus.
West Campus? Where?
Oh, Once you go through Gala AI, dude, it's got 200K. So that's for, I'm not asking for it right now. Well, I'm only the software. Semi-on. Yeah. And then Paul, you can apply to my content.
Yeah.
put that in, that needs to go into the speaker. This
Right.
is like, I need to tell them to print something.
Yeah.
So, because we printed speaker prep, like,
Okay.
we want you to
Yeah.
give a demo. So,
Yes.
like, either send us a link or, like, you know, record a
Okay.
video or, like,
Is this the message included in the message you want me to send out?
to the guest speaker, yeah. It'll be like, fine, like,
And
it'll be like, send me in advance so I can get it.
And this has to probably send out by Thursday, so they have to.
Yeah, ideal.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
mean, yeah, Thursday would be ideal.
This Thursday.
It's not, no, that'd be perfect. Sometimes it's not on, you know, Friday or Saturday.
No. Thursday.
Thursday.
So then,
Yeah.
because I know people usually take time to send things.
Yeah.
So even if they send it Monday, I still have time.
Yeah, and you've been awesome. Thank you for being so responsive. I'm sorry I've been a little, like,
No.
causing a little rush, but.
I'm enjoying this a lot, and
Yeah.
everyone else has been really good.
But Drew's seen me go through this too, where like this is like the 15th year, so there's a little bit of like, oh, I know what to do at the last minute. You know,
Wait,
like-
but this is also like you're doing everything new.
Oh,
So
yeah,
I
we're
understand.
riffing on it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's fun.
Yeah.
But let me know if you need anything else. I'm always out there.
I will. And you've been great. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm actually also taking the design class this semester. So we do a little bit of that. What field does, what companies are you working at?
So I work for Sun Paradigm, their lab up in New Jersey, and they do oncology, hematology. When I worked there, I was making a product team for liquid biopsy and solid tumor. We have like 50 and 500 gene panels and a bunch of different biofibers that you can do. And that's actually the project that I'm working on now is essentially like a super tailored reporting service, a media monitoring service to avoid missing updates since that field is moving so quickly. It's impossible to stay on top of like all the different updates that are relevant to you, all the new guideline updates, things like that.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so like I actually just ran off like a little sample report. Essentially this is just like random stuff, but ideally it's like hyper tailored to you. Everything has a citation today, and it's like a group email where you just put a summary of everything you go ahead on.
That's nice. So you're more like the data science side where you're like doing yeah, healthcare management.
Thank you.
Sorry, what were you?
Are you more the data science side where you're like
Yeah, that's what I studied in undergrad, so like that's why this is something I was able to build because pretty much all
yeah,
the side
exactly.
Python and PostgreSQL.
That is the future data science.
Yeah. So yeah, right now I'm kind of looking for the design partner relationship to test it and prove that somebody's willing to buy it. They only charge them purely some cheap cost.
Are you incorporating sort of like
Hey,
It's
good.
exactly.
We seem to have done that before.
Cerebral augmented generation.
Okay, sorry.
Okay,
Never mind. I'm Brad.
People,
I know.
I hate advertising.
This is not for this, from another event.
I'm working for like Korea, yeah.
So bad, but
For,
Oh,
okay. I run a company that cleans and integrates patient records
yeah, so
for healthcare providers, startups, and
research services,
record data for that they use for treatment and stuff, and cleaning
There's a lot of good ways
insurance
to do it.
reimbursement, for outcomes,
yeah,
going
the way
to
you
clinicians and stuff.
Decent amount, that's cool.
so if I understand right,
Not crazy,
clean
not like
the other data,
I know there's a lot of
focus
stuff
on
out there.
what they need.
Yeah, so I take in the data from patient, I clean it up and I make it look like it's supposed to look for various use purposes and basis, and I then output it back.
So one of them is only checking.
Do you have any names?
Okay, I've used
Like a business card? I usually use links.
They are all really good at researching, not very like logically, so all of their
Sorting all the data pretty much.
yeah, we take all of their output requests that have an answer for each week, and they go to one that's like edited, only using that.
I need to search your website and
Okay.
You guys built your own
understand the
API?
better.
Yeah, well, I'll reach out to you if you guys are in need of that. I'll reach out.
I think that like tag you mentioned
Yeah.
Like more,
brand new thing,
more
right?
Yeah.
I think we don't have like similar thing in Korea yet.
Okay.
I think it's like in America, so
Everyone.
above,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
cheaper than us.
Yeah.
So
that's the
tag
other
fee.
thing, like this is definitely just like a wrapper.
Yeah, awesome.
It has to be actively managed, there's nobody that's doing it, it's scarce. Yeah, I mean, if you're a rapper, you can just switch out the models. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm talking about what direction you want to go. Well, I want to be a provider one day, so I want to go to medical school. But right now,
Yeah, they show up every now and again.
get a better hold
They're,
of like the health technology.
they're not as common as
want to
like,
go down the path.
I don't know how it is
And that's
here,
part of the
there's division
organization
for
to
pharmacy,
medical
care,
devices,
the
low cost
doctors,
medical
clinics and
devices.
stuff, so there's usually more of those kinds of
So
people
on
here.
behalf of that, I was like coming here,
But,
like meet some other people in
they show up every now and
then.
then. Yeah, Austin is not as big of a
face for pharma. What? I mean, Houston is huge.
That's what they said. So, but it's only a 15-minute talk, and they say after that.
I'm sure they have several. I don't remember the specific ones.
Yeah,
I mean, Houston's a huge city in general.
I was like
And
one
it's a
contact
huge
for
city. It's, I think it's the largest city. There's more like health researchers, healthcare researchers than any city.
So I ended up on so many hours of testing.
Austin's more, there's a growing scene now. Austin's there's still more software, still more tech, still more access. Yeah, but really, you ever been to Houston?
I've never been there.
Okay.
I moved here last week.
Okay.
This is actually my first time here.
Yeah. And how you like Austin?
This is my second.
Okay, awesome. That's cool. Yeah. And where were you before? Okay. Yeah, you came straight from it.
Yeah.
Interesting. Korea, I lived in Singapore for 2 years. So yeah. Korea's the one part of East Asia I didn't get to go to. Yeah, it's a little bit more removed. I went to Japan, China, something else. I never got to go to Korea. It's a small country.
Oh, that's really good.
It was a wonderful. So I went to a study bond program there, and then I graduated, got a job with a British nutrition company doing the insights for their payroll. And so they hired me there, and I was like, well, I could go back to the US and
exactly, yeah.
I'm like, shoot, I'm not sure why.
It's more business oriented here.
Actually, but like,
really?
and I was like, but when am I gonna come back and like live here? So I was like, I might as well have this. It's like an experience. So I got a job, and I was like, I might as well stay here. But then I came back to Austin. Yes. Because the company that the company is working for, the headquarters the headquarters back to Austin. And so I was like, I guess that's my summoning call back.
Not that I've seen. I've been having guys there's a couple. There's like probably the idea of and I'm not doing plan participate, so
that was a weird coincidence. I was like, that's the
idea of whatever But I'm like, why am I just making ideas for you and like getting $500 by the not worth it.
Oh, he was brilliant.
It's very insane. Not like not 100% headquarters it's still like
and the way
it just did go somewhere.
they pick their headquarters is they're like, you only go to the state that has no taxes. They're like, it's Florida or Austin or Nevada. They went to Vegas. So this place seems fun for the weekend, not to live here.
That's what they should do. I guess in a bigger way, like trying to take more advantage. Service companies.
Yeah, because they're more culturally similar. It's more, it's less different. Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, Americans in particular hate I mean, we kind of started the war. But yeah, so they did their headquarters out. Yeah, they just keep on that's weird. So I guess I'm going back.
So like this
oh, she was like, yeah.
Wow, so you use their product.
And then I came back and I was like, I read it this paper and I was like, oh my god, now so buddy?
Good to see you.
Yeah.
How's it's already been a month.
Well, the AV was kind of a disaster situation because they couldn't like get it going or whatever. The normal guy wasn't there.
Yeah.
So the front desk, the woman who runs the front desk, she had to come and do it instead.
Oh no.
And so it was a little bit of a mess. And then I did the presentations I came up with, and everybody just kind of their eyes glazed over and they're like, "That was nice, but it was very technical. We couldn't follow it." I was like, "Oh fuck." Whatever. Go back to network. So yeah.
I appreciate it. Hey, it's good to see you.
most famous for playing Voldemort. He's a handsome guy, but he's not got like this.
Got it. How are you guys doing?
Good. What are you working on?
I'm working on a digital platform for health coaches.
Okay.
Biometric and biomarker based,
Yeah.
like data insights.
Yeah. You ever try or need to connect with Epic, Athena, or EMR systems?
I don't know yet. I mean, I'm very early.
Okay. I mean, we help that company with that, so you should do that.
The two things I need to connect with is wearables,
Yeah.
the biometric data,
We do that.
and lab data.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at the two different APIs.
Yeah.
I haven't validated the product that we're going to do.
You're not quite sure you're building yet?
I'm a tech guy. So building is not foreign to me.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I'm building the right thing, or at least the first version of the product. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, I got you. You don't want to have to wait for later.
What's interesting is, hopefully there's a lot already. Something about that healthcare for clients and for coaches or so much nonsense. Yeah, definitely. You don't want to change framework. So I haven't nailed down exactly privacy around the web. I mean, like the idea of there are platforms like that. For example, Heads Up Health is one.
No, I'm not as deep into like health coaching so much. I'm more like provider side.
Okay, so Heads Up Health is used in like medicine practice. Not necessarily just health coaches. And I think for functional practitioners, for revenue doctors, probably no, you just take the word for it. But I need to figure out a way to build something that works for those guys, the pain side of it, and the client side of it. And you have it doing the same as consumer focus.
Yeah.
This is what I want to do with myself.
Yeah, makes sense.
What are you here for?
I run a company that needs clean integration and normalization of patient record systems for clinics. So we're hired on to take recycle electronic medical records, data and kind of integrate to help them with reimbursement because there's a lot of burnout solutions.
So there's formalization and harmonization of health systems within like a given workflow in a company.
And a lot is driven by three big areas that are like this. One is revenue cycle. One is like revenue cycle. So when they do claims, they have to go to the electronic medical record, look at it, and then re-enter at a person called medical service to go in and look up a table what the claim is. So we help automate that process. And then another is burnout. A lot of clinicians
Get started in like 5 minutes or so. Give you time
so
to
we look at that problem, and then
It's not where we're
we also help with elevators.
So what's the ingest side of the data? Is it documents, PDFs, actual data,
Everything.
JSON?
It's images. Oh yeah, dude. Healthcare will do faxes.
Faxes.
Healthcare will do
Fax at least or right?
No, they go. It's healthcare. Yeah, no, they still use faxes. And people are like, what? Topic is just so easy. And then they have to re-enter it.
So you gotta scan your version of something.
Yeah, what we do vision.
I can do all that.
We're just helping we're in talks with a subsidiary of LG to clinical notes, ingesting clinical notes for vision. they have these dirty tricks where, so they want the data to be as large as possible to drive up the cost of switching so the provider never switches. So there's some federal rules against that, but there's a rule that they have to take certain data has to be in a certain format, but there's a loophole with the notes can be stored as an image. So they take the notes and they save it as an image, because that data can't be easily accessed, so they can't then easily switch this. Well, yeah, but then in the package, this is EMR company, they're still going to send it. We're helping them with ingesting that view.
Like I've seen people that work for us.
Sorry, AI that looks at a picture. And yeah,
Sure, I mean,
I'm sure you use it good.
oftentimes hard to
Yeah.
have you been coming to this event?
Yeah, Doug and I are friends.
Exactly.
He's kind of like do it.
I mean, I think if you
On and off,
find out what it says instead of copy pasting, you'll understand a lot more. How much does it say that copy paste the room focus on correct writing? When you can switch from agent mode to adult mode, so editing the notes, I use that.
I think it varies, but I think it's probably 60 tech, 40 health.
That's good.
I like that. This one. This I'd like to way more. I know a woman who's registered no one that needed NSC. She's starting her own series.
I don't like Bono. Okay. I'm sure it's good.
Zova.
It seems super long.
She calls her events in that. They're hosting.
Oh, really? I've heard that. Really?
She's from somewhere in Eastern.
Two ends, doctors, four. But they don't offer it was like recent, so I was like, fractional health. That's not very good, is it? I feel like it's going to the middle people who, I guess, yeah.
Alright. Looks like we can, just about everybody, we can get started. I'm Doug. Thanks for showing up, guys. I'm going to be your host this evening. Brad hosted last week, but
unfortunately for the rest of you.
yeah, unfortunately, I'm going to be your host this evening. We're going to talk about TEFCA, and then it's been about 2 months since I was here, so we're going to do a quick little recap on what's been going on, and feel free to chime in about other things that you want to talk about. I might not be privy to or I didn't cover, but there's some headlines that I thought were some big news in the last like 6-7 weeks or so. So the big thing is I always talk about is TEFCA, and TEFCA is still around. You know, a couple of months ago I was talking about this and I wasn't sure if this framework that we're going to be moving towards was going to stick around under this administration. But we've got TEFCA and it's still rolling strong. They've just signed on additional new laws on how TEFCA is going to work. And as a quick reminder, TEFCA, I have to check myself, stands for like a trusted, it stands for the Trusted Exchange Framework and Common Agreement. And this is an agreement for how qualified health information networks are going to talk to each other. There's 7 qualified health information networks right now, and there's other people trying to get onto these systems. Epic is one of them. The Commonwealth Group is another. Health Gorilla is one. I should probably get a list of all 7 of them for you. WINS, Qualified Health Information Networks. I'll get a list for you afterwards. But just know that there's 7 of them right now. Epic has its own hub of networks.
Of course they do.
And Cerner, and I think, what else? Cerner, and Epic, and then there's another one. I think it's Cerner, and I think, 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 Cerner, and I think
merged together to create their own, and there's a couple other smaller groups that have their own networks. And so things like California State network, and then Texas has its own network. They all have to add all this information into EMRs have to report all this information into a qualified health information network as part of national reporting for physicians or for providers in order to qualify for Medicare and Medicaid. So all this information, all this health information, in order to get any reporting, is going to get reported to one of these 7 groups. And there could be more over the years as people qualify and apply to become a health network. But right now, we only have 7. So the newest update to TEFCA, hot off the press from August 17th, is that there's a new standard operating procedure. And how do I get over to the standard operating procedure? The standard operating procedure documents basically just covered that the SSA, the Social Security Administration, wants direct access to it. So this is good news that this document that people have been working on for the last 8 years or so is still going to be moving forward. So there's been talk about pilots also getting onto it. So the FFA, the flying, whichever FAA, Flying Aviation Group, has also applied to be on TEFCA to make sure that pilots are following, or pilots medically are able to stay up to standard and par with their courses. And I believe the latest update of request to TEFCA has also been ICE. So there's been a lot of updates and people trying to get onto this network as we become a little bit more